So what's with this getup?
I just got off the flight, man.
When did you get off your flight?
I'm tired at 12:30 in the morning, but I had to because Black and White is here, guys. Welcome to the Card Lounge. It's your boy Gengar, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Twice Baked Jake. What's up, guys?
Actually, my name is Robo. What's up?
You got off your flight, and fully be honest, you literally got off your flight an hour ago.
Yeah.
And you flew in just for Black and White.
I mean,
why are you excited for this? Let me hear it. Why are you excited for Black and White?
Okay, why I'm excited is I thought the 151 concept was really good. And that's my era, like just original Gen 1. So I loved that they did that, but to hear that they're making a illustration rare for every single Pokemon in Gen 5 for Black and White is crazy. I wish they had done that for Pokemon 151.
Yeah. I'm with you on the same boat. I'm surprised they didn't. I'm surprised this is so heavily one-upped in that this set is kind of insane. If you think about it from in terms of we got Pokeball holographic reverse, Master Ball holographic reverse. We have an illustration rare for every single Pokemon card. Like, this is huge in terms of news in a set. It's our first dual set. Like,
first dual set.
Yeah, they're doing crazy stuff with it.
They're not changing the name. It's the set. They're just making it the English version.
No, I agree. I think that's cool too, is that I don't have to think of a new name for the Japanese and English set.
I never got why, like, if you call it Super Electric Breaker obviously they combine that with Paradise Dragona, but still just make it then a combination of the names. Like, it does make it easier because you just go, like it was, but like Jungle Japanese and Jungle English, right?
No, I'm totally with you. I brought this up is that I think Dragon's Paradise should have been the name for Surging Sparks. I think Surging Sparks is a bad name for a set, and they had an awesome name and they could have just used it.
I agree.
And that's what they're doing it here, is that Black Bolt and White Flare is just straight up the Japanese name, and now we can just say, oh, it's the English Black Bolt and White Flare.
Right.
And it's the exact same name as the Japanese, which is good. They're doing good stuff.
Yes, I think it's an improvement. And did you notice, we got some comments. Do you remember on one of our original pod shorts that we put up where they did the thing again? Like, it's a dual set, but they've got Black Bolt and White Flare. Yeah. Flare being an adjective for, fire or whatever. And
I see what you did there.
Black being black, they just use straight up black, but they didn't need an adjective. But it's another dark thing with fire thing, and that's the whole set, They did
No, I'm totally with you. So basically, in an earlier episode, Rob and I noticed that we used a lot of dark adjectives with fire adjectives, things like Obsidian Flames, Burning Shadows,
Darkness Ablaze,
something fire and something dark, pretty much. And basically, this one is Black Bolt
and White Flare,
which is, you combine the two, it's Black Flare or something of that nature.
Right, which
something of that nature.
You know what's funny? I feel like that would have, if they had done what they always do, where they just come up with a new American name, I bet that would have been the set name.
No, like I literally thought of that as said, like, what are they going to name this set? Because it's Scarlet and Violet, Black and White, Bolt and Flare. So, like, it's a very long name.
It is.
If you look at the name, it still says it's Scarlet and Violet, Black Bolt, Scarlet and Violet, White Flare. We have a Scarlet and Violet, a Black and a White set.
It's like saying 3 colors in a row to name which, I mean, I get. Yeah, to your point, it is a little, that is kind of funny. I mean, this set in a way, or just this block, right? Scarlet and Violet, they've now done 2. Does this actually kind of show that maybe, I don't know, that Scarlet and Violet as a block, or this new gen of Pokemon, was kind of weak because they've had to do 2 kind of reprint sets where they've had to shoulder a lot of the responsibility on like an older set of Pokemon. You see what I mean?
That's an interesting call out. Things always get crazy once we get into the last block of an era. Yeah. And this is even more crazy than what we're normally used to. Correct. I really don't know where they're going with this, because you're right, is that normally for the last couple of sets, there still is kind of a theme going on. Yeah. Because the last 4 sets of the last era, Sword and Shield, we had Brilliant Stars to Lost Origin. And that was a theme of sets of trainer galleries.
And
that was the theme that connected them. For Sun and Moon, they had Tag Team GX, and that was the theme between the four. Yeah. But right now, you're kind of right. They're kind of shooting from the hips where things are going kind of wild. We did Destined Rivals with the Bat. We did Partners Pokemon. We did
So they had to go off of some older nostalgia thing there too.
Right.
Yeah.
So Partner Pokemon was done, and I think is that over? Like I don't know if Black and White is going to continue with Partners Pokemon. Right. Basically.
Which you know what I thought that was interesting because like it's I remember thinking this in Sword and Shield when they introduced battle styles.
Right.
It was just like, oh, is it just for this set? You have Rapid Strike, Fusion Strike Pokemon so that certain items can only affect the, but then Fusion Strike came out and then there's future, like even in Evolving Skies, they have Rapid Strike and Single Strike type Pokemon.
Yeah, basically they continue with the mechanic for a while.
But it doesn't seem like there's any gym trainers Black and White Pokemon, or at least we haven't seen any like pictures of so-and-so's Pokemon. Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from, which is basically they did Partners Pokemon for like 2 sets, and now we're moving on to Team Rocket, and then we're immediately moving on to Black and White. And it seems like Black and White is a special set where it's not going to continue. We're not going to have multiple sets of Black and White. It's going to be a special set, Black Bolt, White Flare, and then we're moving right back either the next set, which they have to announce within the next month or two. Which is also interesting. Yeah. The next set, as soon as Destined Rivals release, they usually immediately announcing the next set. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing news about the next standard set within the next couple of weeks.
I know it's like it's so crazy because we just got the Black and White news,
and we might go back to Partner Pokemon with the next standard set if they want to continue on with that.
Maybe,
or they would have to do Mega.
That's
the next thing coming up.
I thought that is what they were kind of saying.
Exactly.
They will go and bring back the Mega gimmick, which I mean, also you would have thought they would have just saved that for the next card block, but I guess because the next game, Legends ZA, they've already kind of shown that they're bringing back Megas. They're going to need the card sets to, align with the game. And that comes out. Does that come out this year in like a couple months?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come out this holiday season. That's my guess for Legends ZA.
Something like that. Right. But then, you know what? So it just goes to show you, I think, they do feel the Scarlet Violet gimmick was kind of weak with the terastallized hats. And, it's not like they're leaning on another hat gimmick to end off this block. They're like, oh, we reprinted 151. The first 151 Pokemon.
Right.
Let's do the Black and White Pokemon. And then now it's like, and they had to lean on Gym Challenge, Gym Heroes mechanics. So it's just kind of like, all right, are the rest of the mainline sets even going to use like the hats anymore? Like, does that mechanic even get brought up?
I think we're done with Terastallize. I think I'm with you. I agree. I think we're done with Terastallize as a mechanic, and I don't think they're going to bring it back ever. It might stay in the closet for the next 20 years.
Right, because they bring back Megas. I could totally see them bringing back tag teams and then switching which Pokemon are tag teamed, and that makes for some really cool cards. But the hats, I just don't see them bringing back because it doesn't really add much to a lot of the artwork. Not a lot of people are super excited of any Pokemon card, I think, where the hat is on the Pokemon, really.
Sure.
Except for maybe the Alt-Art Greninja, I guess. And even then, it's not like very prominent, if that makes sense.
So if I make a prediction right now, I'm just going to say my prediction is we do Black Bolt and White Flare, which is special sets.
Okay.
And then for the next 2 sets after that, we finish Partners Pokemon. That's my guess, is that Partners Pokemon is going to be the mechanic for the whole entire year. Is that at the end of this year, we're done with standard rotation, and that's the final set is Partners.
Yeah.
And then starting next year, we move immediately. The next standard set would be Mega.
That's
stuff. My guess. Okay. It's very possible that the set right after this is Mega, but I just don't see that happening. It's too many mechanics all at once.
It
would be surprising to me. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I at least think we finish the year with Partners Pokemon, and then we go into next year with Mega. And Black and White is just this random a special set. It's a special set, which I've had people ask me, oh, is there going to be booster boxes for this set? No booster boxes for Black and White. And I've heard mixed opinions on the dual set gimmick. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's break down. Let's go through all the news that we've like learned about Black and White, starting with they're introducing double set to, could there be God packs in this? They kept the same name. Oh, all the IRs like for every Pokemon. For the dual set, it's just so, I guess, unprecedented for English Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't really feel good or bad about it. I guess I would lean more towards the positive side in that it just matches the Japanese better now. I think as we've both grown as collectors, and I think a lot of the general population, like for people that like to collect Japanese cards, it is nice that there's just a more solidified matching between like, okay, the set names are the same. I do feel like once you start collecting English Pokemon and maybe you see some Japanese cards from earlier sets that are like from 2-3 years ago, you can kind of forget like, oh, what was the name of that? It was Matchless Fighters. And it was like, what is that, Chilling Reign, or is that Battle Styles from English? Where, now that it's 2 sets because Japan is dropping 2 sets and it's the same name. So I just feel like 5 years down the line, it's very easy for a collector to identify, oh, this is the Zekrom from Black Bolt,
Right. From a pure mechanics perspective, I understand why they did it. Mm-hmm. If it was one set, the set would be close to 350 cards total.
Wow, yeah.
So it would probably have been too big for one set for English. So I get why they wanted to break it apart. So I get it from their perspective. Is that each set is right around 170 cards, which makes more sense.
Is it? Okay, wait. So the set numbers, though, it's not combined like the final big number for both the packs?
Yeah, it's a unique.
It's separate.
Yeah, it's separate set. They're true separate sets with unique numbering system, unique counts.
That's
all that.
Interesting. So
unique cards in both of them.
So what I was wondering was if they were gonna do like the first card out of 300, if 1/300 would be the same one in Black Bolt as it would be White Flare, but you're saying there's gonna be 2 ones.
It would be interesting if they combine them to make one giant set.
Well, right.
And it makes it so that you kind of have to collect both to fill out the set. So the true set.
Right.
Black and white.
Right. Black and white. And what I guess the fact that if it's like really just, it's like they're dropping 2 separate sets at one time.
Yes.
You know what? Then from a business perspective, that's interesting because I think running my own, shop, it's, what I see that doing, though, is if there is one chase that, I don't know, kind of leaps like in front of the rest of the herd.
Yeah.
It's going to create an imbalance, even though these 2 sets are supposed to be like kind of like together. Does that make sense? So you're kind of like, if Black Bolt has like 2 or 3 top chases and then White Flare doesn't, it's going to just skew everyone trying to like only get Black Bolt stuff. You know what I mean?
And that actually happens all the time with Japanese sets. All the time.
Yeah, you're
in
right.
Japanese sets, there's usually like a big chase card in either Scarlet or Violet, and that's the one that everyone wants.
I guess EV Heroes and I think it was Blue Sky Stream.
And EV Heroes is the one that you would prefer.
Had all the EVs, right? And then all the like the Rayquaza and the Altart Dragonite was in Blue Sky Stream. And people like that to like, I remember we opened up a lot of those boxes. People are trying to find the Altart Ray, but then later down the line, it was like, yeah, like everyone wants EV Heroes because that's where the Altart evolutions are. But then when you combine it to Evolving Skies, look at how strong that is as an English set. So then it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, like would it have been better for everyone to be able to buy everything? Like even if you separate some items as showing like a black pack versus a white pack, but as you open stuff from Black Bolt and White Flare, you can get potentially like all the cards. Does that make sense? As opposed to just
I'm fully with you. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I agree. It's that ultimately one will be better than the other.
Right.
There's no
way to make it even.
Yeah, there's no scenario where they're completely even. As a collector, I'd be cool with either. Like at the end of the day, for the immediate release, I don't think anyone's going to care.
Yeah,
Is that ultimately you're just happy picking up either Black Bolt or White Flare.
Correct.
But you're right. It's that objectively, from a rational perspective, there will be a point when there's an optimal choice where, you always pick Black Flare or White Flare or something like that nature. One is going to be better with just a random chase card that's going to be the most popular. And I've already seen the comments is asking like, yo, Jake, what do you think is going to be the big chase card?
Yeah.
And we don't know.
We don't know yet.
There's 100.
We have to see all the cards.
There's 150 illustration rares. We won't know until we see the art and see like which one really stands out.
Right. And so like we'll see which ones are the fan favorites. We got to see the secret alt art, like the SIRs too. What are your thoughts and opinions on 156 illustration rares. I think Pokemon has never done this where they go, all right, every single Pokemon in the set, we're going to give its own essentially alt art for. And what they've been building up since the end of Sun and Moon is alt arts are these different versions where it's like, that's the chase. Like it's a lot harder to pull than the regular art. I think they only do that for certain Pokemon or certain cards every single set. And that's what makes them a little bit more special. And if you give an IR chase to every single Pokemon in the set, then it's almost like, well, then none of them become special because they all have one. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm at two minds about this, is that there's a pro and a con, right? I get where you're coming from a collector's perspective, which is ultimately, if every Pokemon always has an illustration rare, we would almost treat it almost like a holographic reverse, almost. Like we're right. Almost expecting it. It stops being a special chase. I think some of the best illustration rares, the cream of the crop, will still stand out. The best illustration rares will still command a premium. There will always be a chase, but it does move the needle in terms of our expectations for a good hit.
Kanto Shark. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Kanto Shark. They're an online Pokemon consignment service that specializes in high-end Pokemon collectibles and helping you guys get your Pokemon items sold.
If you have items that are worth $500 or more, and let's face it, that's a lot of Pokemon card products these days, whether it be loose booster packs, graded Pokemon cards, or sealed booster boxes, you can sell it all on KantoShark.com. Consultation with them is incredibly easy. Let them help you sort through your collection for you.
Guys, lots of consignment services sometimes make you wait weeks to receive your payments. Kanto Shark actually pays out every single Friday. That means if you have cards that sell on Thursday, you're getting your money from those cards the very next day.
And just to show you the level of work that Kanto Shark puts in for you, they recently sold a Crystal Guardians CGC-10 Population 1 Charizard for $10,000, and they also sold an Illustrator Pikachu Tag 9 for over $350,000.
Man, Jake, those are some rare cards. Guys, if you're trying to find some hard to find Pokemon cards, whether it's the niche stuff, the vintage stuff, the super, super rare exclusive promos, you gotta go hit up KantoShark.com today. Go check it out. You'll find super great Pokemon products from slabs to sealed product at excellent prices. Go check out Kanto Shark. Thank you for sponsoring this podcast, and let's get back to the show.
20 years ago, a holo rare is considered the best hit in the world. And then we moved on to full art. We moved into holographic reverses. We moved on to illustration rares, alt art, and all of these crazy mechanics. Yeah. And now that's considered the chase, right? And obviously, this set comes with the Pokeball holographic reverse and the Master Ball holographic reverse. And it makes it so that it dilutes the rarity or the exclusivity for some of these rarities, right? Ultimately, if every card has a Master Ball, it starts to lose the Master Ball kind of premium or prestige that goes along with it. Yeah. So I get where you're fully coming from. I think it's cool. Ultimately, it's that if I had to pick between, do you want to make illustration rares exclusive and only a couple of cards have it, or do you want a bunch of cards to have it? I lean towards I'd rather have more rather than less. Why? And we move that needle further. Because ultimately, I think every Pokemon card should, and there are collectors out there that want every Pokemon to have an illustration rare. Right. And I think that'd be cool, so that ultimately in 5 years, you can collect an illustration rare of every single Pokemon in existence. And I think that would be cool.
And then you're not even collecting the well, I guess they still are Pokemon cards.
Right, there will still be a prestige.
Guess, earlier in the pod, I just said how cool it would have been to see just I guess it's just, you know what? And I guess that is the at its base collecting, like kind of what it satisfies in all of us is there's just more space for an artist to make a more extravagant art piece. And I guess in 151, if there was a set where, if they made 151 and gave every single Pokemon an illustration rare, that would have been cool because you could see one for Grimer and Ponyta and, Sandshrew and these guys that don't have as much love as someone that's gotten one 3 or 4 times. So it's interesting that they're going to do that though with black and white, I guess, because they're going to have a card for every black and white Pokemon. like, do we see this trend continue in the next regular set where they just go, whatever Pokemon we include in this set, we're going to give them an illustration rare? I don't know if they do that.
I agree. I actually don't think they will. I think we go immediately from black and white, which every card has an illustration rare, back to standard, which is we'll probably have the next set having around 20 to 30 illustration rare, and then the next set after that having 20 or 30 illustration rare. And I think we should eventually push the boundaries of the next level of chase. There will come a point where the next level of chase is an extravagant crystal terrestrialized illustration rare. You know, something bigger will be the next big chase card. But I still think the cream of the crop will be a really cool illustration rare. Like the next Magikarp will happen. Is that out of 156 illustration rare, one of them will be the best looking one, and it's going to command like $100 or $200 value. We don't know what that card's going to be yet. It's just going to depend on the set, what the top chase card is. Because obviously we haven't seen the art. And it's hard for me to speculate on the top chase card without seeing the art. Like some people are saying, like, you know, like, oh man, I really want a Haxorus. I want the Oxawat illustration where it's look amazing or something. And we'll have to wait and see where some of these cards land. Is that I think some of them are already really cool. If this was like a normal like Scarlet and Violet base set, because this is black and white base set kind of for black and white, right? So because all the starters have their own illustration rare, I think it already looks really good.
I think those did look really, really cool. I thought it was weird that they didn't. People pointed out there's only one, like the Superior is the only SIR, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense is that mechanically it's still a TCG, so they have to make it work from a TCG perspective. I think they have 5 SIR inside of each set is what we're basically getting. 5 Pokemon EX SIR in each.
Wait, but even mechanically, they could have then just made those two,
they
like the end evolution of Emboar and then Samurott to be
They did
SIRs.
do that with, I think, like Scarlet and Violet base. They did that for all of the starters.
Right, exactly. With Skeledirge.
And then we got all their SIRs in
Paldea Evolved.
Yeah. So ultimately, if they really wanted to, from a mechanics perspective, could they have done it? They probably could have.
Yeah.
And that's
what you're saying. There was all the in Scarlet Violet base, they didn't have SIRs.
No, but they had EX version. That's what I'm saying. Say it's from mechanic. They were all EXs.
They were EXs. Okay. But they didn't have illustration rares or any sort of alt art for them yet. That's right. Their EXs were introduced, and then those EXs were
or maybe they were introduced in Paldea Evolved, but ultimately they were all EXs. But you're saying with this set, black and white, Superior is the only EX with an SIR. Because they only make SIRs with EXs.
I see only with EXs. Superior is an EX.
Which is why it's an SIR.
Samurott and Emboar aren't EXs.
Right.
Oh, so see, why didn't they just make it Emboar EX then and Samurott EX?
I see where you're coming from now. Because
that's what Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard are in 151, right? It's Charizard EX, Venusaur EX, Blastoise EX.
I actually brought that up in my reaction video, which was, it's kind of funny that I get where you're coming from. The Superior is the only one with the SIR, but it's also because the Superior is the only one with the EX. And they only make SIRs for EXs.
Okay, that I just didn't even. I mean, now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. But I didn't even like put that together. I just thought it was like, you know, those are the 3 starter final stage evolutions for black and white. Give them the cool like textured, you know, alt art look. You know?
So the Emboar and the Samurott are not EXs, which is why they're not SIRs.
I see.
But that probably means they're gonna have EXs of other Pokemon somewhere in the set.
Right.
Of some of the other big water and fire Pokemon, for instance. Whatever it is.
Right.
We don't know.
And it'll just be based on what they need to balance out the meta mechanically for the game to give that Pokemon an EX evolution.
Yeah. So I think ultimately they wanted to make the starters probably all EXs, but from a mechanics perspective, they have to make the TCG first and then the SIR second. So they just couldn't make it work. And I get it because it's 156 Pokemon from the whole entire set.
Yeah.
So they have to choose. They have to sort of pick.
There's probably something with like how the meta works now where like grass needs this EX evolution, but it's also like you have to evolve it 2 times, right? Because you have to go like from Snivy to like Servine. And maybe with where certain water decks are in the meta right now, it doesn't even make sense for Samurott to even get to the EX because they need to put an EX on like something that's just like it evolves once just for the TCG to like make that work better. And so they're gonna not use Samurott, but they'll probably use a different black and white water Pokemon that maybe only evolves one time, right? Something like that.
All right. So just to continue on, and I thought about this, is what did you think of the Pokemon Center Black and White drop?
Oh, okay.
Because we both got in on the drop. I actually live streamed it for 2 hours, and it was a ton of fun. Like, we got a ton of viewers, and the comment section was really energetic.
Right, just because everyone's trying to do it with you. So I actually think when you told me that, I was like, oh, why have I never, like that, it seems like a fun, because there's like stakes on the line, and you're not really like streaming opening, like you're just kind of, was everyone just hyped to see if you would get in or not kind of thing?
So basically I live streamed me waiting in the Pokemon Center queue for 2 hours
that's
with an audience, and everyone was doing the same thing. Is that ultimately everyone else was like, did you get in? Did you get in? Oh, I got this error. What error did you get? How do you fix this error? Or stuff like that.
Right.
And that was fun. For 2 hours we just helped a lot of people get through their errors and fix their issues and see if it was still in stock, basically.
Right. Did you stream with a camera, or did you do it just from your like mobile phone stream, go live on YouTube?
I did both. So they could see my screen. So we caught the exact moment when my screen refreshed.
Okay.
And I got into the Pokemon Center and I bought it live.
Nice.
Just so that we confirmed it. We got the email live and all of that.
Wait, how'd you do it live? Wouldn't people just be able to see your address and
No, I hit it.
information?
I hit it when I made the purchase.
You're putting, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not that silly. But it was a ton of fun, and people really enjoyed it. But the drop lasted way longer than either of us expected, right?
Yes. So I was able to get. So when you say, how do I feel about it? I was a little bit bummed because when I clicked on the link and got in there, you're waiting in the queue. Mm-hmm. As soon as I got through the queue, I was able to, and I guess from what I've seen on like, online forums, this was a lot of people's experience, but I was able to add the Black Bolt ETB. Then it was like, okay, I have to go to the other page. So I go to new releases, I go to cards. Usually when you click around, that's when the site starts to get angry with you.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like, I'm clicking. I don't know how fast I should be going. Because when you go too fast, it's like, oh, you're a bot. And then, that's happened to me before.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I'm a real person. Like,
no.
You aren't even stopping the real bots.
I've seen that exact error, which is basically, it's like a snobby comment. It says, you're clicking way too fast for a human being.
Yeah, and it's like, really? Because I am human and I'm doing this right now. So I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I added the other ETB. I've got both in my cart.
Okay.
I go to shipping. I add shipping. Everything is fine. I click on continue to just go to the payment thing. I get that error 17 thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean by error 17?
Yeah.
Like it was
error
like
17 was very common in the chat.
So there's nothing I can do. I tried to click around it to be like, no, let me go back to my cart. And basically, I had to just click try again. It refreshed the screen, and I got put back in the queue.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm not fuming at Pokemon right now is I did have to wait like another hour, which was annoying. But I waited in line an hour again, and when I got through, the 2 ETBs were already in my cart.
And you just had to check out.
I just clicked to cart. My shipping stuff was there. I clicked on payment. That time it opened up. I put in my payment. I checked out, and it worked.
Yeah.
So we got one of each.
Yeah.
And then you got one of each, right?
Yeah. I got one of each, like right after you did.
Let's go, squad. We did it.
Or right before you did. But ultimately,
around that same time.
I fully understand that feeling, which is basically if you get kicked out to the back of the line, that's devastating.
It feels bad. Yeah,
well, it basically feels like you just lost. Like,
yeah.
There's like no way it's still in stock once you get back.
Right. But it was.
And that's the surprising thing. It was in stock for close to 6 hours, I think.
But then,
which is kind of wild.
Right. But then Eileen didn't get hers. And then they were throwing like BS errors and saying like, oh, this IP is traced to a bot or something. It's like, what do you mean? This is the same IP address we've bought all the pre-orders from before. Yeah. So and then it ran her through enough like roadblocks where then it sold out and she wasn't able to get her pair. So I kind of was like, ugh.
Yeah. Ultimately, there are still people that didn't get some. Like let's be honest. If it was still in stock right now, there are still people that would love to get more.
Right.
But from what I've seen is that there's definitely more of this set than prior sets. Is that if you got in, you probably got something. Like most likely you got something if you got in within the 6 hours.
It does seem like more people got this.
Which is ultimately, it's just a little bit more fair.
It
feels more fair right now, at least, than it did for Destined Rivals, Journey Together.
Journey Together. Yeah. For other people that didn't get, like, it sucks that not everyone can get it. You think, they would just print to demand. But I do remember seeing something where at some point it showed there was like 3 million people in queue. And it was like, as long as, a friend or someone sent you the link and you hopped in right when they announced, like, hey, you can pre-order these. If you waited in the line for like an hour and a half, and the page popped up, you could most likely check out with one of each, which is so, and that's good because it is showing that Pokemon is realizing that the hype is like at an all-time high right now. And they are starting to print to maximum capacity. But as we've already talked about before, I don't know if maximum capacity with their current state of setups of printers and factories and everything is truly enough to meet global demand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Destined Rivals had a restock of the Pokemon Center ETBs as well. And Destined Rivals not released yet.
Wait, when? Not recent?
It was recent. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, like when you texted me about it.
Right.
It wasn't. I didn't even get that either. So even that I don't even think was enough, even if a million other people were able to pick up that.
But that is basically good news, is that they did do a restock of Destined Rivals.
They did, yeah.
And they might do another one because Destined Rivals is not released yet.
I hope so.
And it's very likely that after Destined Rivals is officially released, the Pokemon Center exclusive ETB will probably go back into stock.
Yeah, because they've done that for previous ones. I mean, that's the thing. I've never had to fight people for pre-orders ever since they started the PC ETBs, because if you didn't know about the early drop for the pre-order, always on release day, if you went to the Pokemon Center, the PC ETBs were up. In fact, it wasn't so crazy when they introduced it in Sword and Shield, in that the set could be like out and ongoing. And if you went to the Pokemon Center, you could pick up a Pokemon Center ETB whenever you wanted. But it was like, once you got one, you didn't really buy more because it's a more expensive ETB with just the same number of packs as a regular ETB you could go buy from the shop.
So you've always been able to pick up a Pokemon Center ETB for retail price, is basically. You've never had to pay for more?
Correct. Well, once it left the Pokemon Center, and this is why I always collected one, because it's an exclusive item. It's and it looks different. It's a PC stamped one, basically. Whenever it's gone out of stock, I notice, like, in the market, the price for PC ETB always goes up. Right. And so that's why it was always like a no-brainer to always buy at least 4, which used to be the maximum capacity you could get at any given time. So I would always get 4. But yeah, I mean, I've never paid aftermarket price for a Pokemon Center ETB because I've always been able to get it from the Pokemon Center. The only one now that I fear I may have to buy one at aftermarket price is the Destined Rivals one.
Right, and I'm saying you might have another chance, is ultimately...
Yeah, which would be awesome. Yeah.
And that's great news, is that here's Rob, who is an example of someone who's only ever bought in retail. And he's always been able to, if he's just patient enough, you've always been able to.
Correct.
And this would be the first time ever you've not been able to pick up one.
Yeah.
It's the first gap you've had. And you might still have another shot, is basically Destined Rivals Pokemon Center ETB is very likely to go back in stock at some point in the future because the set hasn't even released yet.
Right.
We just did Black and White, and there will probably be another restock of Black and White Pokemon Center ETBs in a month or two or at release.
So I guess what worries me, though, is I don't recall, because I remember being able to secure my Journeys Together Pokemon Center ETBs beforehand, if when Journey Together dropped, if Pokemon Center ETBs went up on the site. I wasn't like honed in on that because I knew I already had mine secure. So I actually don't know if, I guess I don't recall people saying, oh, I missed out on it, and then when the set dropped, I was able to pick one up. And I just feel like maybe I would have heard people say that if that happened, but I don't, and maybe it did, and I just, didn't hear about it.
I will say for Journey Together, it's kind of unique because that was peak Pokemon hype and also low Pokemon supply. So it was like the perfect storm to make it really hard.
Right.
And
that was really hard, yeah.
And I think in the future right now, like, I think we've passed peak hype at least. I don't think we're going to get more hype in the next 6 months at least. Like, I think demand is pretty calmed down right now and supply is cranking up. So in the future, I hope at least it's only going to get at least better for picking up products.
I see what you mean, but do you really think hype is dying down, especially with the announcements of all this, like the black and white set? Because I feel like this is going to bring, I feel like hype is at, dude, I have never seen it where like any sort of Target or like big box retail, like no one has Pokemon cards in hand or on the store shelves. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I do think we're going to get more supply. I'm starting to see more of it. Is that basically if I go to my GameStop every Friday, I always pick up stuff. Like I've never had a time where they sold out of everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I go to my GameStop and wait in line at release, I've always been able to get the latest release. And
not in California.
Sure.
Does not have enough, which I always think is so weird, but California is notorious for that because obviously it's one of the more larger population states, but it seems like it gets less product supplied to it than like a Midwest state, you know? So, yeah.
Sure. It completely depends on your region, but at least from my perspective, I at least see that it's getting to the point where it's cooling off. Is a month or two ago, I can't say that. If I went to my GameStop, the line was too long.
Right, where it wasn't even worth it. You're like,
it's not even worth it. There's 40 people in line. It's not worth it. Right now, there's like 10 people in line. And if I get there, I'll probably get something. I've always never had an issue with it, at least right now, which is at least good. Like things are improving. Good. And I'm seeing that too in the market is that I did a video recently, which is basically Journey Together has reached a point where it's unscalpable, which is kind of funny. But what basically that means is that if you go to Target and Walmart and you pick up an ETB or you pick up a blister pack, you cannot resell it for a profit right now.
Okay, that is so I saw a Reddit post that I think went pretty viral on Pokemon Reddit, where it was a guy returned 40 Journey Together ETBs.
I saw the same post.
To a Walmart. Okay, so you saw it.
Yeah.
And we'll put a picture up because there's like a picture of like all these ETBs sitting in a pile from the return. And my thought is, why wouldn't you just hold, maybe that person doesn't have the capital to be able to hold that and have that money just like kind of underwater. But I did not think we were in a state right now where it would be a good idea to return those. Like even, I feel like even Journey Together ETBs, you can find someone that will pay like $10 over at the very, like you should be able to profit at least $10 off of an item like that.
So that's the scalper mindset is right. That dude who bought 40 ETBs, like that dude's clearly a scalper. Like sometimes I'm pretty shaky about like, are they really a scalper? Maybe they're just but that dude's a scalper.
That guy, right.
And ultimately his perspective is, I'm going to buy 50 of these on a credit card. He straight up doesn't have $1,000 in the bank. So I brought this up recently is that in like the last episode, you said, oh man, why don't people just spend $5,000 and pick up some Pokemon cards as investment? And I thought about it after the fact. And
I said that?
Yeah. You said
like that.
But you get the idea. It's basically,
sure.
People don't have $5,000 in the bank. From this guy's perspective as a scalper, I think he straight up does not have $1,000 in the bank. He needs to sell these immediately to pay off the credit card that he spent buying 50 Journey Together ETB.
Right, and he's got 30 days, and he couldn't find some if he picked them up for...
Right, and that's a good sign for the hobby, at least, is that he was not able to offload them at a profit. If he was, he would have.
That's true. I guess that does...
That shows the unscalpableness of Journey Together.
Yeah, it shows that like it's healing. The world is healing a little bit.
Right, you're saying like, why can't he...
it shouldn't be so easy that... Like, right, to your point, okay, I guess we'll say this then. It's like, I guess if you're like a clever scalper or like a scalper VMAX or whatever you want to call it, then they're still able to operate and like be that kind of function within the Pokemon hobby. But it's like, to your point, right, I don't think anything should be made where anyone should be able to buy it and bogart it from true collectors and be able to so confidently be like, I should be able to like sell this to anyone and 2x my money or 3x my money.
Yeah,
that means there's not enough print.
Yeah, we did this on the podcast. Is that there was a point in time when Journey Together ETBs were going for $100 to $120 an ETB on the pre-orders.
Were they?
Yeah, Journey Together ETBs peaked at $100 for a single ETB.
Okay, that's right.
We remember that. We talked about this on the podcast.
That seems so wild to
me now, though,
and
at that price, it makes total sense to scalp it. Like, regardless of what we think, it makes rational sense to try to flip it.
A scalper would be motivated to scalp that. Yeah.
But right now, if it's going for $60, the amount of lift to pick up 50 Journey Together ETBs and try to resell them for $60 for that $10 margin, that is no longer worth it.
Well, what's in it? What's it at a store? Dude, I haven't seen Pokemon product in a store in like 3 months. Like,
sure.
What
the
does
retail
it cost
price for
tax?
Journey Together ETB is like $50. With taxes and shipping, it might
be 55.
Exactly.
Okay, and if all you can turn it in
and
is
on
to
TCG
60,
players, it's like $60
okay,
to
yeah,
pick
it's not
one
even
up.
worth the effort for a $5 gain. Yeah.
Right. If you try to go on Facebook Marketplace and sell them all for $60, you and I, if we were on Facebook Marketplace, we'd be like, oh yeah, we'll give you like 80%.
I'll give you 55. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it costs them to get it.
And it's literally not worth it. What are they going to make $5 and get a Subway? You know what I mean? It's not worth it for them to do it anymore.
Yeah,
and that's what
$5 total for moving 40 ETBs.
Exactly. Oof. So it's at the point where Journey Together, at least I say, is unscalpable, and that if they pick it up at retail price, there is no margin.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign. That it's healing. Everything's healing.
Destined Rivals might have the same scenario, and the following set might have the same scenario. We'll just have to wait to see. It's like a supply and demand thing. Supply is increasing. Is demand increasing? We won't know for sure, but it's a good sign to show like, oh, Journey Together went down, guys. Like things can get better.
So we kind of touched on this on the last podcast episode, but you want to talk about, is demand cooling down? Did you see Logan Paul did another box break with like Aiden Ross? Actually, you know what? I'm not even sure how that went down because I've just seen little snippets of like, you familiar with who Aiden Ross is?
I am.
He's okay. So he's like a really big streamer. Mm-hmm. He's younger than us though.
Sure.
And I guess so is Logan Paul, but like he's like even a younger generation down. Like he didn't even know what like first edition base set cards were because he just didn't grow up with Pokemon like that. But them two combined, obviously, a ton of young kids or just people in general watch them. And they, I think, did a box break. I wish we could like look this up, but I think they did a first edition box break on Kick. Now, if that had happened on YouTube, I think we would have seen a Logan Paul 2020 situation because I think more people would have tuned in. But as it stands, even just on Kick, I think they pulled some pretty large numbers, especially for being a streaming platform that I don't think natively, like, have you even ever been on Kick? I don't think I've,
I literally don't even have a Kick account.
I don't think I've typed kick.com into my computer ever once. I'm just aware of it because of streamers that have like gotten deals from them to leave Twitch or leave YouTube. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you brought that up. I don't think we would have seen another 2020 event. And basically, the reason 2020 was such a catalyst was that it opened the eyes for a bunch of people that wouldn't have gone into Pokemon cards already.
Yeah.
And I think things are different now. Is that if you even had an inkling of interest into Pokemon cards, if you follow Logan Paul, if you follow any streamer,
you'd already be in it right now.
You'd probably already be in it because we did a video recently where we said, hey, all of these other live streamers and content creators, they've also been opening up packs and getting into Pokemon cards for like the past 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, you don't think they're pushing the needle a little bit?
They are going to push it a little bit, but 2020 was a completely different scenario where it didn't push the needle like 5%. It throttled it up like 400%.
I know, but we were also all in quarantine. So it's like when an event thing happened on YouTube that was free to watch, like I remember watching it live and there was like
a million people.
Half a mil to a mil live. And then the amount of views it got later was like 3 mil the next day, 6. Like and watching it live and the chat and like even me just remembering the cards and like watching them open it, like there was such a palpable like nostalgia hit. Like it was like so fun to watch, like even more so than the second time Logan Paul did it, like I think a year later on.
It was just not a big deal anymore.
It didn't have that same like oomph to it because it even seemed like for him it was less of a big deal because he'd already done it before. Whereas that first time, but I will still say if they had done it, like there's probably a batch of young kids that, you know, because that was what, now 5 years ago, right? Like there was probably a batch of kids, a whole generation that didn't watch the 2020 stuff because they were like 8, 9, or 10, or maybe they were or maybe they were like 4, 5, 6. You know, they're like kids. But you know, 5 years later, now they're 8, 9, 10, or even like 10, 11, 12-year-olds that don't have their own money, but now they're 17, 18, 19. Maybe they have a little bit more expendable income. Now they're like watching Aiden Ross and Logan Paul do this box break together. I do feel like they do push the needle on what the younger generation is interested in, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like, I don't think it's a big deal anymore. Like, even if they push the needle a little bit more, that's completely fine. Well, I think there will always be like a group of people pushing the needle in some way.
Okay, fair. I mean, I guess you and me kind of push the needle with our content. That's what we do with our livelihood. But it's like, I think they're so big though, and the needle, I guess the needle is already so far at maximum because of where we are with the hype and the limited supply and just capacity, that any like an extra 5% needle push just overheats the engine that much more. You know what I mean? Like, so much more.
And I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
Okay.
All right. So you brought up that is like, what would push the needle? All right. This is something no one's talking about or thinking about. And it's going to come a little bit out of left field, but I'm serious about this. All right. Okay. For the needle to be pushed really, really hard right now, and this is so true, okay, it's going to be China. And that's going to sound really, really weird, but right now, Pokemon cards were just introduced in China, and it's a big deal for them. We got real Chinese Pokemon cards right now, and the Chinese market is literally larger than the U.S. market even.
That is crazy to think about.
And that could push the needle a lot, is that in 5 years, I'm not saying right now, but in 5 years, when there's a ton more Chinese Pokemon card collectors, and they have deep pockets, and they're going to want their own Mario Pikachu and Screen Promos and all those cards.
And they'll want the Japanese stuff, and they'll want the English stuff too. Actually, I don't even think that's a far-fetched hypothesis. Right. I actually agree with you, because if you look at how that I mean, just with streaming and their interests in like American entertainment and streamers. I mean, really a lot of stuff that like was popular here. And then if it's popular, I mean, even card stuff now, like I hear because of all the card booms, like Collecticon and like events we've had here, they've thrown some massive, like, just like in China, their version of Collecticon, and they're getting like huge turnouts.
Yeah. Like if I had deep pockets, let's say I had like $100 million and I was already a multimillionaire, if I could pick a business right now, I would say, whoever's going to be the big card shop in China will be a billionaire.
You would
invest in
that.
I can't do it ultimately, but I can see that market, and I see the potential for that. Is that ultimately that is going to be the next thing. And I think the Pokemon company knows that too. Yeah. Is that it's literally half the world is not collecting Pokemon cards, and that's where it is. And once they start collecting Pokemon cards, it could be a second 2020 situation.
You're right. You don't think they were collecting these Chinese?
They weren't exposed to trading cards.
Yeah,
they don't really have a trading card culture. They do. Right. They do. I'm not saying like Chinese people straight up don't collect trading cards, but their market is so different. They don't have Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon the same way that they
Chinese Magic the Gathering.
There is
in the language.
There is absolutely, but it's a much weaker scene. You see what I mean? It's not the same kind of cultural dichotomy that we have over here in the U.S. But I think we're getting to that point where in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to see card shops as a common thing. They're going to see trading card conventions as a normal thing.
Right.
Collecting Pokemon cards is no longer weird.
Yeah.
Collecting Pokemon cards, if you were Chinese 10 years ago, probably super weird. Like you could have collected. It's not like impossible.
Or you just get the fakes. Like everything around you is like the fake cards because there's no real.
It used to be a lot more niche,
print.
But that door is now open, and now it's a much more common trade. I get people who buy cards from me quite more often now, who are like from Hong Kong and whatnot. You know. Not to
like
get it, yeah.
On just online,
yeah,
you mean? Oh,
absolutely. And I buy Pokemon cards from Hong Kong dealers quite often too.
I've done that too, yeah.
Right.
I've seen it, yeah.
You know, like we're not going to go deep into politics, but who knows where things go with tariffs and trade wars and all that.
Oh my goodness.
But it will be interesting. But if I had to make a bold statement, I say in 5 years, like the Chinese trading card market is like on the same level as the U.S. and they rival us in terms of demand, in terms of like how many. Like I said, Mario Pikachus and all these other cards that they don't have, and they want them. And I think that could drive the needle is that you would ask me like, hey, what would make it so that Screen promos, Japan Post promos, Mario Pikachu, all of these other cool promos that we have over here in English for the past 10 years, Poncho Pikachus. If you ask me what would move them from being a $5,000 card to a $10,000 to $15,000 card, I say it's the Chinese market.
Stop saying this, Jake. Everyone's gonna in the comments say, Jake,
but
you're
if I had to make a prediction,
ponchos.
That's it.
No, okay,
and it won't just be those cards. It won't just be those cards. It'll be all cards.
I feel like
that's what would cause it.
You're saying this now, and it's gonna make everyone go, I have to get the ponchos now at their all-time highs, and like I thought they were gonna be cheaper. Dude, I'm never gonna get the Mario and Luigi Pikachu, am I?
We'll just have to wait and see. Like, you never know. Like, they've climbed, but they haven't climbed higher in terms of a speed than any other card. Like, if that's the same pace.
Well, no, I mean, but they kind of have, because they're at a, I mean, not, I know what you mean, like the pace-wise, but the fact that it's keeping the same pace as cheaper cards and they're already so expensive is pretty impressive.
No, I agree. It's that, like, basically, are you really going to dump 10 grand for a Mario Pikachu right now? And I get that. That's like, that sounds so unreasonable.
It does.
And I'm with you.
Especially because I could have got all 4 5 years ago for like $4 grand.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, and I didn't pull the trigger because I thought, $4 grand for all 4 was too expensive.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong. But then I also know people that like got all 4 for $400.
Right.
You're kind of one of, you're like,
yeah.
Or what were the price points at when you picked those up?
I picked up the Mario Pikachu in a PSA 10 for $200.
Man.
$200.
Wait, each?
Yeah. The Luigi used to be like 120 in a PSA 10.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hey, we're getting near the end of the podcast. All right, one final thing I want to talk about is the new chromatic rarity, which is kind of something we've kind of already done in the past. It's a callback to the earlier black and white era for Reshiram, Zekrom, and Victini.
Okay, the monochrome kind of, but still textured as if it's an alt art.
Yes.
Full art.
So basically, they did a full black version and a full white version and a full red version of the big iconic Pokemon from the black and white era.
Yeah.
And they look good.
They do.
They look good. I think they look cool.
I need to see it in person. The high res images, I can't tell if like even the electric energies, like you know how Reshiram has like electric, but it's like it's almost like a shade of yellow, but then it's all white. But I do like how they do the texture where the art of them is like, it's almost like 3D, and like they're kind of popping out the card, but it's all one chromatic. I don't know. It does look interesting.
Okay. So I'm with you. Of the 3, I think the Zekrom looks the best. The black one, I think, looks the best. Of the 3, if I had to pick from a texturing perspective or in the color perspective, I think black just works better. I think maybe it's because you can do more with it. With
it being the color black and how that aesthetically looks solo. Yeah.
The Reshiram, it looks really hard to see. Like, I can't see the colors in it. And you're right. This is one of those things where maybe it looks way better in person.
Yeah.
I don't think the Reshiram looks that great. The Victini, I've heard mixed opinions on. I think the Victini is the weakest of the 3.
Victini looks just weird to me as an all red card. I don't know if it's just because it's like a weaker like image, but there is something about it where it doesn't pop or hit the same way the other two do.
The Victini, the all red, I'm gonna be honest, it straight up hurts my eyes. Some people like it.
Your eyes?
Yeah, if you like the colors, I get it. But for me, like the Victini, I can't stare at it. Like the red, the hue of it and the texture of it, it literally hurts my eyes just looking at it from the color. Yes, I swear. And I don't know how much I don't know how many people it will affect, but it will be interesting. I don't know if this will be a continuing gimmick.
Yeah.
If they'll do more of it, because they're going with the obvious colors versus black, white, red. Those are pretty straightforward. They might do a green. They might do a brown for, I don't know, fighting type, or a purple for psychic or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they can continue this.
To do that, I'll say this. I bet they do it for at least one more set, because whenever they introduce a new rarity type, or just a new card type in how they design or color that specific special rarity, I feel like they always got to give it to Charizard.
I was just about to say that.
If it would be kind of cool to see if they can do it with the texture that they do for the Reshiram and the Zekrom.
Mm-hmm.
I know Victini, you're having issues with the color red on the card, but imagine it being like that same red, or maybe a deeper kind of like a Charizard red, like orange red, but it's like Charizard designed in like heavy detail and texturized the way Reshiram looks. Or you have like a nice like just monochromatic green for Venusaur and blue for Blastoise. I could just see them doing that. You know what I mean?
So the funny thing is, I did bring this up ultimately, is that this is our 3rd special set of the year, which is we had Prismatic Evolutions, which was a special set at the start of the year.
That's right.
Mid-year, we have Black Bolt and White Flare as both dual special sets. Yeah. So that's our 3rd special set. and we might have a fourth special. We might
to end it. Like what the Crown Zenith would be of Scarlet Violet.
Right. Which that it would be near the end of this year or at the very start of next year is the latest.
Yeah.
But we will get another special set, and that'll be the one that we'll end it on, and it'll probably be. Who knows? Like, we're making crazy predictions now, but it could be more chromatic Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I could see them doing that, which is shiny chromatics or something like that.
Whoa,
where we get like a... I could see Mewtwo, for instance. Like, Mewtwo being a purple
With
chromatic.
A purple. I could see that too.
That's like a no-brainer.
That could look really nice.
Shout out to Card Lounge if we make this prediction come true in 7 months.
Go us. Or Gengar.
Like these aren't crazy predictions either. These are like no-brainers, like straightforward, like, oh, what's the next step? If we make chromatics of these, what are the ones that we would pick? It would be Charizard, Mewtwo, Gengar.
Right. Do we
Pikachu maybe?
Do we get a fourth? Oh yeah, they've got to do a yellow one with Pikachu. They've got to. Do you think we'll get a fourth special set? Is there usually 4?
There's not
holiday.
Nothing. Okay, like we're way outside the ballpark now. We had dual special set. Nothing is normal.
That's true.
Nothing is normal.
You're right. Everything is on limits now, which sounds weird, but nothing is off limits now.
Sure.
So if Sword and Shield had how many special sets?
Not that many.
It ended with Crown Zenith, but then Shining Fates, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let's be honest. I'm gonna be.
Was that it? Just those 3?
No, there was more, but I'm gonna tell you right now. Shiny Star V. Oh no, that's Shining Fates.
Yeah,
never
Shining
mind.
Fates.
Shining Fates, Champions Path. Now you're making me think through all of them. Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go was a special set. But
also there is 4.
So back in the day, we only had one special set a year. Back in the Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon days, even in XY, we had one special set every single year. It was like Hidden Fates, and that would be like our special set for the year.
Well, Hidden Fates was in Sun and Moon. What were the special sets in XY? Can you even remember?
Was Shining Fates? No, it's not, it wasn't Shining Fates. What am I thinking of? Shining Legends.
Oh, Shining Legends.
Shining Legends on Generations.
Oh my gosh, there's no Generations booster. But I love opening up Generations packs, but they're so hard to find now because they're all in Rudy's bathroom.
So those are special sets.
Yeah.
Right? And we had special sets, but they were like once a year events.
Yeah.
And now we went on to 2 special sets a year for Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, right.
And now we're doing 3 special sets to 4.
Potentially 4. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's getting kind of crazy.
So now they're becoming less special. See, the more you make, that's why I feel like Generations is such a, when I got back in, I could still find Generations on the shelf. And that was like finding gold.
Yeah.
Like I remember going into Walgreens and they'd have these like, they call them TCG lightning packs, and you'd like search through a bunch of them, and one would have a Generations pack in it.
Is that like an MJ Holding product?
Something like that.
Yeah, like a repackaged Pokemon
like a
card?
repackaged thing.
Yeah.
And when I got back into the hobby, that was like the kind of earliest known stuff that you could find in the wild still.
And the reason why Shining Legends was inside of those.
I find some of those too.
But the reason why they were inside of those packages.
No one wanted them.
No one wanted them.
That's so crazy.
Oh, I thought of another special set.
I'm sure there's a lot of
Dragon
those.
Majesty.
Dragon Majesty. I find a lot of those in Walgreens.
That's
it's
what
so
brought
funny
me to
how
it.
many yeah, that's right.
Dragon Majesty also did not sell very well. And that's why it's inside of repackaged Pokemon card products.
It didn't seem like there's a... I remember when I got the ETB for Dragon Majesty, I was like, this looks cool. And I didn't open up... I think I found 2 of them, and I think I opened up one for like a early on TikTok.
Yeah.
Which is actually crazy to me now that I did that. But back then it was just like, oh, I want to see what's inside this
we're going
set.
down kind of like a weird rabbit hole, but ultimately what happened was I think places like MJ Holding, people that distribute Pokemon cards, they ended up having too many of
much left over,
Dragon Majesty and Generations premium collection boxes. They were just sitting around.
And they broke them down.
They broke them all down. They repackaged them into way smaller product and sold them at a discount at places like Walgreens where you would pick them up from.
Yeah.
And that's how you picked up all those random booster packs.
Man.
And that's why they're kind of rare now.
So, and I've kept a lot of those sealed because I have a cool, they came in like blue blisters, and I did open up some Generations, but I kept one of each, like a Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Pikachu, and they look really cool just as like a display for hanging blisters.
Yeah, I know.
I've always wanted to open up more. I wish, Rudy, if you see Alpha Investments, if you see this, invite me and Jake to come over to use your restroom. And
we will not take anything from your restroom.
Yeah, we're just going to lock ourselves in your restroom for an hour and a half. Don't worry about it. We'll clean the toilets and your bathtub. Just let us come over. Yeah, the just opening up that stuff in the early days before that was technically before the 2020 boom.
Yeah,
I was doing that, and I was just like, it was just the last. I didn't know how good we had it? That was until later, and then I look back and I'm like, oh man, those packs were like crazy that we just found those in the wild like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the new hidden secrets are, because like little stuff like that is still happening. Is the Pokemon Center ETBs, the exclusive ones, they weren't considered a big deal for the longest time. They're just now becoming a big deal. Even I would say 8-9 months ago, if you really wanted a Pokemon Center Twilight Masquerade, a Pokemon Center Shrouded Fable ETB, they were easy pickup.
Yeah. Now they're so highly sought after. I don't know if that's because you have a lot of people trying to... I think a lot of people are trying to build the ETB wall that I'm trying to build.
Sure.
Or I know a lot of people that always leave in the comments for my stuff like, oh, I'm trying to build like an ETB wall.
They're kind of a no-brainer pickup now.
Yeah.
Like now, it makes sense.
It is a very like... just a cool display thing that represents the set very well, that can just kind of be on display anywhere in the house, you know, like that's what drew me to collecting them. And I do feel like, you know, also when they first launched them, which was, we've talked about this before. What was the first set? Chilling Reign, I think.
The first set with a Pokemon Center exclusive ETB.
Yeah.
It was Chilling
Reign. Back then it was like, you could still get Chilling Reign Pokemon Center ETBs well after, like, I think even when the next set dropped, because it was just like, well, there was no special promo. I think that was when Scarlet and Violet did that, where they're like, oh, we're going to add an exclusive promo and it's stamped. Whereas before it was just, I think it was just 8 packs, which was it was just a more expensive way to get 8 packs. So why would anyone buy it?
You did get more packs.
No, one more, I think, just one extra one. But for an extra $15, most people wouldn't see that value. I would just collect it because I knew I wanted to collect it sealed. Was it 2 more?
It's 2 more packs inside of it.
2 more, but still, like for the cost, I think a lot of people.
The only reason I recall that is because of Chilling Reign. Because in Chilling Reign,
they messed them up, and they send you the extra 2 bonus packs.
Yeah, with Chilling Reign, they were supposed to add in 2 extra packs, but whoever made the Pokemon Center
messed up the first run of them.
Yeah, so the Chilling Reign Pokemon Center ETB only had 8 booster packs, which is exactly what you said. You just paid $10 more for
Maybe
8
that's
packs.
Why I remember it that way. Yeah. But then I remember getting a ton of those. The 2 packs. And then there was a promo version, or was it a promo version? Or maybe it was just from the set of the Galarian birds.
It was the exact same Galarian birds. It was just the ultra rare, but it did come with 3 ultra rares, just as like a sorry
we messed up.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if those were like unique promos?
That would be cool.
How that would have been an actual item. Yeah, you would have had to have been around back in the day to order the Pokemon Center ETBs and get the messed up wave, like the first one.
That would have been a true apology.
Yeah, like we'll print you a special.
That would have been cool.
Even like a special delivery something, which dude, they haven't redone like just order from the Pokemon Center and you get a cool, like a special delivery Pokemon in a while.
And that's completely normal. Is that the Pokemon company follows trends and ideas.
Yeah.
Is that they'll do something for a while and then they'll move on to the next thing, and they don't do repeats. Is cosplay Pikachu is an era. There's just an era for 4 or 5 years where there's a bunch of cosplay Pikachu, and then they don't do cosplay Pikachus any longer. They've just moved on from that era.
Why would they do? I mean, if they see the success of them now, you don't think they'll ever do another cosplay Pikachu?
No, I absolutely think that they'll do more because Pikachu is their mascot.
Yeah.
And they probably will do more Pikachu promos. But I think that's a good thing, is that they keep refreshing ideas.
Yeah.
Is that they're not stuck in their ways. Is that the Pokemon company does hit us with nostalgia. Like, remember Team Rocket? Remember Black and White? Remember Mega Evolutions?
Yeah.
But they always do a new iteration of it. Is that the next time we're doing it, we're seeing chromatics.
Right.
Remember Black and White, but now we're throwing in Master Balls, illustration rares, chromatic chases. Things are different and better. This is the next version that you want. They have to give us a reason to want it. They just can't be lazy.
Yeah.
And I think that is at least good, is that things are slow, and we dog on the Pokemon company all the time for being slow. But they do make things interesting and spicy for us.
I do see what you mean. Like, there's some stuff I wish they kept around. Like, for example, if every set had like or just a couple sets they reintroduced, like Amazing Rares when they started that in Vivid Voltage. Then they did some in Shining Fates, and then they just stopped it. And it's like, well, was it because people didn't care about them? But would people have Amazing Rare collections where you created this whole new rarity called an Amazing Rare, and then you just gave up on it after 2 sets? Like, if they just did some more Amazing Rares, I thought it was cool. It was kind of like Pokemon's version of like a Color Blast card. You know what Color Blast is in sports cards? Yeah. So just kind of like that. But to your point, if they do just keep, I mean, maybe they never even do Amazing Rares because they already found Ponchos to be successful or Megas. And if they just keep the same like tricks going and never innovate, then that would probably be a duller experience over a 10, 15 year period than if they constantly just keep throwing new stuff at us.
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll probably wrap up the podcast right now.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. We'll have to wait and see what the next innovation is. But you were talking about how illustration rares might become a little bit boring if we do it for too long. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe after this year, we're just straight up done with illustration rares and we move on to the next thing, whatever that is.
I don't think they stopped doing those because they've established it as being like the new holo hit, like what a chase pack at its minimum form is. Because I don't think we ever go back to... unless what happens is they don't even include a regular rare, and every single pack, the rare hit is an illustration rare.
Yeah.
And then people will
have to
happy
wait and
with
see.
that. Yeah.
But the idea is that I don't think they're just gonna take away illustration rares and we go back to holo. We'll move on to the next big thing, which is something that we and I haven't even seen or discovered yet.
We can't even conceive. What else could they do? I mean, an illustration rare at the end of the day though is just a full art card, right?
Right.
What more can they do with a card?
Right.
You either draw in the window or you draw over the entire card. There's not really much
That's
more.
not for me to say or design.
That's for Pokemon to
right.
learn.
It might be a texture card. It might be chromatics. It might be going back to trainer galleries. Who knows how they'll innovate, but that's on them. Like, I'm the consumer and I'm the collector, so I'm just going to pick up what they create. But I like where things are going. I think this is cool that we're, could you and I have... No, that's the idea.
To your point, I think, remember when everyone was like just shitting on Scarlet and Violet base, like from the beginning? They're like, oh, don't collect this. Oh, this is going to be the junk wax era.
Sure.
Only collect Sword and Shield, even though they said the same thing about Sword and Shield when we were in Sword and Shield. But I will say this. I am actually pretty thoroughly impressed with the Scarlet Violet block. I think it will go down in the history of Pokemon as one of the better blocks of Pokemon, more so than Black and White and Diamond and Pearl. And just, Sword and Shield was a very, very strong era where they introduced like alt arts officially. But I think Scarlet and Violet really, really held its own, especially for making cards off of a game that I guess was received as pretty lackluster overall.
Yeah. I think I absolutely agree. I think I have a really good optimistic outlook for Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
It's a good era. It's a good set.
Yeah.
We've had our kinks and bumps in the road with this journey together. Between Scarlet and Violet, but I'm having a blast. I think it's a great time to be a Pokemon card collector. Appreciate you guys for being on this journey with us. And thank you so much for watching the Card Lounge podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for lounging with us. We'll see you next time.